JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Wednesday, November 26th, Thanksgiving Eve. Talk really quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from there. S&P in the green or S&P futures. Let's see where they are right now. About a 0.25%. Weekly jobless claims came in less than expected just a little while ago. And outside of that, not much in the way of catalysts today. Coming in since Friday, S&P is up about 3.5%. Yesterday's rally was the third in a row. And are we gonna make it fourth in a row? Is the AI bubble? Is it finally over? Right? Did the bubble burst? All those names that have sold off, and a lot are off quite a bit already. Is that the bottom? And then now can we melt the highs? It's funny, all the chatter and talk, especially Thursday and Friday, you would think the markets were already in a correction, and we're like a stone throw away from all-time highs. We could possibly have Friday. I mean, that'd be a crazy move today and Friday, but don't forget, markets close tomorrow, half a day on Friday. Markets close at 1 o'clock. I did have a chart, and I don't know where it is, but anyway, just in regards to the market, there's not much in the way of catalyst, right? December 10th is the next Fed meeting. We'll have data. I don't even know what the data is at the start of December. I'm not sure when the actual like CPI official comes out. I don't know if it's going to hit before the Fed meeting, but outside that, earnings season is winding down. So what can really rattle the markets outside of kind of like headline driven? And we're in an environment that's usually one that is conducive to rallies, right? We have the Santa rally. It's just historically speaking. I don't know if I have my chart. Of course, I don't. Um, but anyway, so we'll see what happens here. Today, it was with a big rally from Friday through yesterday. You kind of want to see a little consolidation or chop. Otherwise, it brings up the possibility of some over swings. So, if we do get some profit taking, then maybe it's a little larger of a swing than I want. So hopefully we get some consolidation here today. SPY is back over that 50-day moving average. 679 is the big spot if we do get continuation here today. And then some good things. The yields on the 10-year, 4%, right? That's kind of like the big area. The thing I was worried about over the last couple of weeks is that, since September, worrying that we get what we had last year, where rates continue to go up despite the Fed cutting their rates. So, not getting that, that's a good sign. And all systems go, right? I shouldn't say that, but I think if we can get some consolidation here, and then start to melt higher, then opportunity to grab some of the names I've been eyeing. And Serve Robotics, probably I'm going to grab some today into January and later strikes, just because if this is kind of like the floor, then you got to think some of these names take off. All right, that's kind of overall markets. I'm trying to think of my other things I had to here to say, but here's some charts floating around the last 2 days or so. It's funny how all these become talking points. Who remembers the DeepSeek news that hit last at the start of the year? I don't know if it was January, February, that rattled markets. That was going to be the end of Nvidia. All those stocks got destroyed. Oh my gosh, cheap chips are going to destroy all these companies. The AI story is over. And if anything, that was like the signal to, hey, buy Nvidia and all these other names. Who knows if this Friday and this last Thursday was the bottom, but if it is, we can point to some of these charts going around now. And the big talk about the TPUs, the tensor processing units, Google, they've had those for a decade or whatever. I was saying it yesterday on the rant yesterday afternoon. It's like the Apple M1 chips, right? I mean, I remember when they were rolling out their own chips. You're like, wow, Apple's doing that, but it's like you kind of know it there, but it's not one of those things that you look at Apple and say, oh, that's their big growth driver. No one really talks about it. Same with Google. You never thought about Google and their TPUs, right? And all of a sudden now it's a talking point to the factor that, I mean, hundreds of billions of dollars in market cap created in Google and its corresponding names that rally with it, and then names that got destroyed. And I don't think Oracle's sell off since its highs in September is because of what's going on with OpenAI and with Google and Nvidia. I think it's more of other things too, but just remarkable stuff. But things to watch. I keep saying I'll watch this. I don't know if we're out of the woods yet. I mean, anybody who sits there and tries to time tops or bottoms, it's a fruitless endeavor, right? Unless you time the top perfectly that one time, but you probably have to call the top or the bottom hundreds of times before you get it right. So I'm not going to do that. Just continue to be open to the possibility that we're still not out of the woods. And if that's the case, I'll continue to watch support resistance for areas that I'll get some put hedges. All right, so overall markets. Now, quick on individual names. It's like Reddit finally. I was talking on a rant, Monday, how Reddit was rallying and the call premiums weren't going up, right? And I got the calls on Friday. The stock was like 180 something. I'm on the rant on Monday afternoon, and the stock's in the 190s, and the calls are in the red. just frustrating, right? And that just goes to show how hard it is to trade options. You can get the stock right, get the move right, get the get everything right, and then still lose money on the trade, right? So it just shows how tough it is. But then on the flip side, because of the difficulty of it, when things do go extremely right in your direction, you make lots of money. I mean, you can't make 1,000% on a stock. I mean, unless there's some crazy catalyst or a buyout news or whatever. Um, but you can on options, and it can happen very quickly. So thankfully, Reddit, and who knows if it was news that Meta is looking to get some of Google's TPUs or whatever that story is. But I'll take it, right? If that's what moved Reddit yesterday, who knows? I don't think that's all of it, but up 12% yesterday, just a monster move. It just started at the open. It wasn't even moving that quick, and then just was taken off. Then it was 200. Once broke 200, then 204, 205, and then just kept going all the way to the end of the day. Almost hit 220. So, I mean, the 215s, in hindsight, of course, probably maybe I should have got some more. I don't know. I mean, to me, anytime you get overly aggressive, it usually comes and kicks you in the face. So it's always good to have a plan. So those 215s locks them in on the way up, 200%, 400%, the last little batch for close to 1,000%. And then I just held the last few, and they were close to 2,000% at the close, looking great in the pre-market. And here's it 216 in the morning. I'm not sure if I'm going to close it out right at the open. The unfortunate thing here with Reddit is the option market's not going to open right when the bell rings. As crazy as that sounds, the Reddit option market probably is not going to open until 9:33 or so. So hopefully it doesn't have a break through that 215 handle. Either way, I don't have a ton of the weeklies left. Of course, I would love to see it at 220 plus, but I'll probably just lock the last of those in at the open and then just ride to 235. So my thought yesterday, I want to continue to have exposure in Reddit for the eventual news of some licensing deal or partnership, or at least a re-upping of a licensing deal with Google and all these other AI names. So at some point there's going to be news and the stock's going to be up another 15, 20%, whether it's down here in the 215s, whether when it's 250, it's at $300. So because of that, I went and got some of the 235s yesterday. As I was closing out some of the 215s, locked some of those in for 100 and 200%. So now I'm riding free with profits. And, we'll see what happens here this morning. If it breaks 225 late in the morning or in the afternoon, I'll probably look for some FOMO calls on Reddit. When I say FOMO, I'm talking 280, 300 plus before the year is out. Call me crazy. I think it should be trading substantially higher than that already. But the market says no. So I'm not going to fight the market. All right, so that's Reddit. Monster. Great to go into the Thanksgiving holiday with that trade. And then quick on Pool here. So Pool at times on when I got the calls on Monday, it was flustering. I think it was like 237. It closed at 236 or so. And then yesterday just went on a run. It was up nearly 4 or 5%, I think, at times in the afternoon, all the way up to 246, closed at 243.89, up 3%. You know the story here. I think it's set up for a massive move. And if I get time tomorrow, I'll try and find some research on pinchers and maybe get some statistics on how they play out, the moves they've had. And my example is Baidu that I have from July when it went from what was it, 85 to 106, in I think it was 6 trading sessions. I think it could trade north of 270 in the coming weeks. So I have those 260s. They're up 50, 60% right now. Hopefully I get a chance to lock some of those in to cover costs today or Friday. And then, you know what, if it gets over 250, I might look for some 280 strikes, some less expensive, higher strikes, just in case there's follow through. Because if it really does have this epic move, some of those names that are not pricing in that move, some of those strikes are going to have massive upside, 500, 1,000%, so on and so forth. So that's Pool, which brings me to my next example. Let me present to you Strategy. And, Strategy is a name I traded for I think it was puts back in April. But that has a serious pincher here. And, it's funny. It used to trade somewhat in lockstep with Bitcoin, and now it's kind of like totally dislocated from it. I don't know if it's going to go back to trading in sympathy, or maybe it's going to be a catch-up play where if there's some kind of crazy reversal. But if this thing pinches, it's going to be over 200. Well, it's already pinching. But if it starts to break out of its pinch, it's going to be $200 quick. The issue is the premiums, right? So for me to find when I first look at a trade, it's the risk reward, right? So for me to trade Strategy, the 185 weeklies are $1.10, right? So $10 implied move on the weekly strikes. No news, no catalyst, which is insane. So then you start looking at further out strikes, and do I want to get strikes into next week? But then you go up to the 210s. The 210s for next week are 78 by 82. So I may nibble at some crazy calls. I may look at like the 220s for next week. I was trying to look for other strikes even on the December option expiration week, 3 weeks out in December, the December 2019th. And that, I mean, the 250s are 88 by dollar. So I'm just trying to, if it doesn't move quick, the premiums are not going to go up in lockstep. So it's going to be a frustrating hold. So I'll wait and see what happens here today, but don't be surprised if I add some spec lottos on strategy for a pincher. That's that. And then other names, Biogen, still in the green yesterday. I mean, frustrating to see that pull from 285 on Monday, but excuse me, 185. See if we get some resumption here today. If I don't know if there'll be a point where I add more strikes, but unfortunately, the 200s still need to get back into the green. Hopefully, that's today. Oh, come on, Reddit. Reddit's down to 215.50. All right, so that's that. And then, I talked about Serve. I haven't talked about Serve recently. It's another one of those names where I think the market doesn't have it priced right. And I think when that happens, there's opportunity. But at the same time, I could look at it and think that the market doesn't have it priced right and be completely wrong. And this trades down to $5, right? I mean, I'm not ruling out that scenario either. It does trade at a decent multiple, but that multiple is not pricing in any kind of monster growth in next year, right? And when I say monster growth, thousands of percent top line year over year growth. So I see opportunity. Maybe the market has it right and I have it wrong, so I'm not ruling that out either. But if I'm right, obviously there's inexpensive calls into 2026 that won't be inexpensive once the market starts to correct itself. So probably today's the day. I've been waiting. 975 is a big spot. It's over that right now. I might look for some strikes there. Still eyeing Lemonade here too. That's at $75. Hasn't moved. I mean, it's moving into the upside here the last 2 days, but not as quick as I would like. But that's a bull flag setting up, right? So once that breaks, you have to think 105, 110. I think that's it. Align, right? I was talking about Align the last 2 days, and sure enough, it does what I typically watch and want it to do when I'm in calls. It has this mysterious move. It was up 6 or 7% on Friday, up another like 2% on Monday, and then boom, it was up like 4 or 5% yesterday before pulling. Yeah, 153 at 12:30, and then it closed at 147. So it reversed course $5. No news, no catalyst, but those are the type of moves that when the options aren't pricing in any kind of movement, and then it just rallies with on no news, those calls go up crazy. And I would, Monday, I'm staring at the 150s. I think they were like 45 cents. The stock was at 143. Kicking myself, but can't win them all. And not only that, I would have held the calls into the afternoon, and then boom, those premiums would have just got destroyed. So still watching that one for upside. And then, oh yeah, RH, right? That's the other one I'm watching here today. All the way up, it was 140 something in the morning at the open yesterday, and boom, all the way up to 160. That could be one that continues to go next week, especially if yields continue to head lower. All right, let's have a great day. I'll be back on audio later. Rock and roll.